Throughout this chapter, we've been looking at the helper methods that Rails provides to make common tasks in our Vue templates easier. We aren't limited to only the helpers that Rails provides. We can add our own custom helpers too, and that's what we're going to learn to do in this movie. The helpers are methods defined inside Ruby modules. Whenever we generate a controller, Rails is going to generate a helper file to match. There's nothing magic about that file that it generates. You can write your own helpers too. Just make sure that the file name and the helper's module name match. Any helper methods that are defined in that file will be available for use in our Vue templates. Helpers are useful for a couple of different things. They're a good place to store code that we're going to need to call often. That's helpful in trying to keep us from repeating ourselves in our code. They're useful for storing complex sections of code that we don't want cluttering up our views. And remember, helpers are Ruby files, so that means you're going to be writing Ruby code in them, not HTML. If you find that you need to write a large section of Ruby code in your template, then it may be easier to do it inside of a helper instead of having to use ERB tags every time you need to start and stop outputting HTML. Let's take a look at the helper files that we already have and try writing our own custom helper method. All of the helpers are kept inside app, inside helpers. You can see there are already a number of them there. Those were generated when we generated our controllers. Let's click on subjects_helper. Notice that the name of the file, subjects_helper, corresponds to the module name, subjects helper. You want to make sure that that's the case. And it is just simply a Ruby module that's being defined. Not a class, but a module. And inside this module, we can define methods that will then be available for us to call. I'm going to paste in one. You can pause the movie to copy it down. It's going to be called status tag. So I'll be able to call status tag and pass it a Boolean as well as any options. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate a new content tag, which is a span tag. Content tag is another helper that we haven't seen. It's an HTML helper. It'll generate a span tag for me, and it'll put for the text of that span tag whatever the text for true or false is. By default, that's going to be nothing, but I can pass in text if I want to. And then that span tag will get a class of either status true or status false, all depending on whether or not the Boolean is true or false. So if the Boolean is true, we get a span tag with the class true. If it's false, then we get a span tag with the class false. Okay, so now that we have it defined, let's save our helper method and let's call it. We'll switch over to our views. Let's go to subjects and let's go to index.html.erb. Let's jump down to where we see visible here. Right now I'm telling it to display visible as either yes or no, but instead I'm going to use my new status tag, pass in a Boolean to that. I'll take off everything after that. So there's just passing in this Boolean. I'm not going to pass in any options to it. It's going to have no text in that case because that was the default. So status tag on subject.visible, and now it will return one of these two values. It'll either return HTML for a span tag that's true or a span tag that's false. Let's save it and let's try it out. We'll go over to our command line. We're going to launch the server from the root of our Rails application. And then let's open up Firefox. And let's just reload the subjects page. So subjects is what we want. Notice right now it says visible, yes, yes, no. All right, now it disappeared. And you may be thinking, well, why is that useful? Now we don't have anything there that we can see. But if we view source on that page, you'll see that it did output a status tag for us for each one of these, right? Here's the tag for a true. That's what it looks like. Now, why do that? Why go to that step? Because now I can style that status tag. Let's just jump over to our layouts real quick. And in our admin layout, up here at the top, right inside the head tags, I'm just going to paste in a little bit of CSS. We're going to work with style sheets a little later. There's just going to be some basic CSS that'll give some style to those status tags. Let's take a look at it again once we reload the page. You can see now I'm getting boxes for green and red. Those could instead be images or something else. I'm just doing simple text boxes. But you can see it gives me a nice visual way to see which ones are visible instead of just outputting yes or no. And now we have our status tag helper that makes it easy for us to reuse that. However, if we're going to use it in other controllers, like let's say we want to use it on our pages, right? We jump over here to pages. We want to do the same thing to its visible. We call status tag on it. And let's just remove all of that. Status tag page visible. Let's go and check out our pages. It is still available here. It does load all the time for all controllers. However, it is a best practice in that case to move it from here, cut it, and put it in application helper. Application helper would be the place to put methods that are going to be used by the entire application. So things that are for subjects only get grouped into subjects helper, whereas methods that need to be used by the entire application or by more than one view would go in application helper. So that's where I'm going to leave this, and that'll make sure that it's in the right place and it's still available to my pages. And while I'm at it, let's go ahead and just save that and switch back over to sections and do it there as well. Index and visible, we're just going to call status tag on visible, and let's remove all of that after it. And let's just check it out to make sure that works too. Sections. And there we're seeing that our section is not visible. So the sky really is the limit as to what you put in to your different helper methods. You can write any kind of Ruby code that you want here and then call it from your Vue templates.